So Bernie Sanders had done a town hall with CNN because he decides to come out and run for president again. Well, you had a sister that decided to ask him a straight and direct question. Now, this is something that we all are speaking on as one accord on the area of our politics. We want to know, what is your position on reparations for the descendants of slaves? That's a simple question. Well, let's hear how Bernie Sanders responds to that.
Chioma Iwaha, she works at a nonprofit here in Washington.
Thank you, Senator Sanders. Part of the legacy of slavery and Jim Crow in the U.S. is the legacy of income inequality in the U.S. What is your position on reparations to the descendants of slaves?
Well, as I just indicated, there are massive disparities that must be addressed. There is legislation that I like, introduced by Congressman Jim Clyburn. It's called the 10-20-30 legislation, which focuses federal resources in a very significant way on distressed communities, communities that have high levels of poverty. So as I've just indicated, I think we have to do everything that we can to end institutional racism in this country. It is not acceptable to me that the rate of childhood poverty among the African American community is over 30% in this country. That is beyond belief. That African Americans die from cancer at higher rates than whites. So we're going to do everything we can to put resources into distressed communities and improve lives for those people who have been hurt from the legacy of slavery.
So what is your position specifically on reparations? I asked the question because Elizabeth Warren, Julian Castro, they've indicated they want to support.
What does that mean? What do they mean? I'm not sure that anyone's very clear. What I've just said is that I think we must do everything that we can to address the massive level of disparity that exists in this country.
I'll tell you what they mean, because Elizabeth Warren has said black families have had a much steeper hill to climb. We need systematic structural changes to address that. Julian Castro has said, I have long thought that this country would be better off if we did find a way to do that, reparations.
Well, I agree with what Elizabeth said.
So you would support reparations?
But read what she said. What does that mean? She means, I think, I don't want to put words into her mouth, is what I said. Okay? In other words, as a result of the legacy of slavery, you have massive levels of inequality. It has to be addressed, and it has to be addressed now.
Many of you that have watched Charlie Brown, if you don't know what Charlie Brown is, maybe you're a little younger, well, there's a cartoon that came out back in the day, and that's where you get the Snoopy character from, Linus, all the Pigpen, all the different little characters on there. Look it up on Google, you'll know what I'm talking about. And every time that Charlie Brown would go to school, he had a teacher, and his teacher wouldn't talk like, he would talk or his friends would talk, but the teacher would talk like wah, 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 like, like anybody that's seen it, you know what I'm talking about.
Did you repeat our assignment? Write a 500-word theme.
And Bernie Sanders sounded just like Charlie Brown's teacher in his response. She didn't ask you about all that. She asked you about reparations. And then after you was doing all that womp, 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 because you wasn't saying nothing, you was making noise, then Wolf Blitzer asked you the question again. He put you more on the spot, and you see that Bernie Sanders did not like that. He didn't like the question about reparations. He don't want to do nothing about it. He started getting indignant about it toward the end, where he said, yeah, what they said, what they mean. Like, what do you mean what they said? That's their response, not your response. You trying to find out what you're going to do about it. Now, then he called him out, which he did say this 3 years ago, that he felt reparations were divisive.
A lot of African Americans are starting to call for reparations for the many years of stolen labor through slavery. Is that something that you would support as president?
No, I don't think so. I think it would be, first of all, its likelihood of getting through a Congress is nil. Second of all, I think it would be, very divisive.
Divisive to whom? We know who you're talking about, to white folks. Let's call it what it is. It's divisive to white folks. Because let me tell you about reparations and why they're against reparations. Let me tell you why. The system that was created here in the United States was built off of the backs of our ancestors. And that system gave them this big wealth gap. And they say it takes 246 years to catch up to white folks' wealth in this country. Literally the same amount of time that chattel slavery was legal. So it will tell you that slavery is the reason why white folks' wealth is where it's at. Now, you have people that will say in that group, well, hey, man, I never owned a slave. I didn't harm nobody. I didn't have nobody in the field. I didn't beat nobody. I didn't lynch nobody. I didn't rape people. I didn't transport slaves. I did none of that. Why should I have to have my tax dollars going to black folks for slavery? That's a simple answer. You know slavery is wrong, right? You know it's right. You know it's right. Okay. You have not only known slavery was wrong, but you have continued the systems that was built off of slavery. You have maintained those systems. You have never made anything right to correct the wrong of your ancestors, right? You have no problem with wealth inequality. You have no problem with this fake supremacy that is a complete fake thing, but we have to talk about it because it's an ideology. So this fake white supremacy that you have created based off of violence, based off of deceit, based off of theft, and you constantly maintain it through violence, through your police, you never corrected anything with that. So reparations is the correction of your ancestors. And if you truly want to correct the evil of America and the wrong of America's past, then you should be the first person to say, yeah, African Americans, they do need reparations. They do need land because we stole a lot of their land from them. We stole their farms. We stole their towns. We stole their property. We stole their inventions. We stole everything. So that is one way to correct that. Let's give them land. We got to do a cash payout because it's only right. We do it to the Native Americans. We surely got to do it to the African Americans because we have oppressed them a whole lot longer. And we still oppressing them to this day. We need to give African Americans a tax-free status on top of that. We do need to make sure African Americans are put in a special protected class. We need to do that. African Americans do need to go to college for free. That's the least we can do is help let them get college education for free. That's the least we can do. There's a few things that you could do as a reparation. I can continue talking, but heading in that type of direction. And the original number what they was talking about was 6.4 trillion. That's a good number to start with reparations. And we don't need all of you to agree to that because 98% of people in the South didn't want slavery in the end. But yes, slavery ended, chattel slavery at least, not the continued slavery in prison. So we're not asking the majority of you to agree with us on that. We're not. I mean, because you looked at people at one point in time, they were cool with the mistreatment of black people and they was fine with it. Okay, so it's not a vote thing. It's about we have to do what Dr. Martin Luther King told us to do. Dr. Martin Luther King said we need to get our check. That's what he said. And y'all stated to us as black people that we need to be like Dr. King. We need to follow his example because he's the right way to be. Okay, we're following Dr. King. We're doing what you say to do. You said that Dr. King was this champion of peace. We got to do what he say. Go and get our check. So that means that you need to pay that. That's all. It's just that simple. And if you choose not to pay it, you don't have to pay it. But understand something. No politician is going to just waltz in and use certain terminology and get us excited. Ooh, you're talking about us because we're shutting that down now. And let's shut this down right now. One thing that we are not no one's minority. Okay? That doesn't describe my people. What group of people do you know in this nation, race or ethnicity is minority? I don't know one. We're not people of color. No one's race or ethnicity is people of color. That's a made up term. We're not urban. That's not my race or ethnicity or anything. We aren't inner city. We aren't that. We aren't diversity. No, we aren't that. We aren't, let's put all these people together. Let's do things together. We ain't none of that either. We are black. If you want to say black American, you want to say African American, it's fine too. But we are our own distinct people, and we are our own distinct class. We will no longer allow none of you to bunch us in. And then when you bunch us in with other groups of people, guess what happens to black folk? They are at the low of the low, and they get nothing. So we cannot allow you to call us people of color and diversity and all these little buzzwords you like using, minorities. No, because white women are minorities. People who are white LGBT is considered a minority. We ain't even got out of the white folks yet. And white folks already got an advantage. So we cannot be a part of minorities. We in the black community reject the term minority. We reject people of color. We reject diversity. We reject all those terms. Address us to who we are. Black Americans, African Americans. You want to say American descendants of slaves? You can do that too. I believe our history is greater than that because we come from greatness. We are the oldest people on earth. The oldest person found was Lucy. That's what they call her. Over 3 million years old. So our history go way back further than the plantation fields of America. But if we want to talk about what happened to us here and why we should get that check, then yes, we are definitely American descendants of slaves. But none of this affected communities. I know communities right now that's white that's affected. I could take you to Channelview, Texas, and show you white areas that's affected in what Bernie Sanders is talking about. So just because he mean affected communities or all these words don't mean it's going to black folks, because I can find a bunch of white folks that's poor, don't have nothing either. And it can go all of them and we still get shut out. So no, we can't deal with that terminology. Black Americans, African Americans, Bernie Sanders, what you gonna do about it? I don't want to hear all that womp talk. I want to know what you're going to do about it. But we already know that you aren't for reparations because you said it is divisive. That's your position. Because you represent a state that's hardly no black folk. It's only 1% black population in the whole state of Vermont. Same state that ran out a black politician in the state legislature, okay, ran her out. I covered that story right here on this channel. You didn't speak up for that black woman. You didn't go defend her, Bernie Sanders. So why would I expect you to do anything for black people? So to my brothers and sisters, it's all, oh, Bernie. No, him not. Well, you think Kamala Harris is the only one that's going to get it? You think she's the only one that was going to get criticized? No, you don't have a black agenda. You're not getting the vote. It's just that simple. Have an agenda, and we ain't talking about that minority talk or that affected community talk or urban or inner. No. Black American, African American. So if you want to respond like Kamala, no, I'm not going to do it for black people. Fine, you don't have to. Don't do it. I don't want you to do anything that you don't want to do. But I know what we going to do, and we going to just cross our hands and say, okay, well, have at it then. Have at it. Do what you do. I am not going to give my votes, and we are not going to give our votes away for free. No longer. We're not your political sluts. We're not doing it. Sluts give it away for free. That's just not happening. Our vote is a business transaction this time and going forward. You want our votes, you're going to give us something. That's a business transaction. You're not getting no more charity votes from the black community. You're not getting any fear votes. Oh my God, this person's a racist. You guys got to go vote. No, we don't. We deal with racism every day. What's one more racist versus all the racists we deal with daily as black folk? And we at the bottom of the barrel. So what do we really have to lose by doing this? By taking this position? Nothing. We can only go up at this point. We can't go down. So now, Bernie, try again, sir. Try again. because that's not going to work. If you want to be in the place where Kamala Harris is at right now, black folks, keep talking like that. Keep having that little attitude that you had to that question. Oh, he marched with Dr. King. Well, if he marched with Dr. King, then why isn't he should have been the first one screaming? Yeah, hey, let's pay these reparations. So we only make it right. I marched with Dr. King. Dr. King was about freedom and justice. So I want to make sure black Americans have that. Yeah, I support reparations. And this how I'm going to do it. He didn't say that. Because he knows, guess what happens? If reparations get paid, it closes the wealth gap. Then what happens at that point? They already know. Give us equal playing field. What happens to black people? We shoot to the stars real quick. And they know that. We shoot to the stars with inequality now in the area of wealth. It takes a lot longer to do so. But if we was on an equal playing field, you know that anytime we get an equal playing field, we going to shine. And they know this. That's why they say we cannot allow those black folks to get an equal playing field. We allow the Asians to do it and the Hispanics to do it and everyone else to do it. We're not worrying with them. We're worrying about them black people. They can't have an equal playing field. Because that's the ones we know you give them just a little inch, they take over the whole thing. Because that's just in them to do. So we got to keep them in this position. But oh no. No. No black agenda, no vote. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think about this particular story with Bernie Sanders at that town hall meeting. We are serious about our voting. We are serious about our position in America. No longer calling us these little code words. If you're not black American, African American, or you want to call us American descendants of slaves, whatever you want to say, if you're not going to do that, then we're not participating in the process. And one little tidbit I want to let some people know that are supporting American descendants of slaves. The sister that asked that question, she was not what you call a black American. Either she's first generation or maybe she came over as a child, but it looked like she has a Nigerian name. I know Getaway is not a black American name. If there are people who are coming over to this country, they are from Africa or different countries, and they're rocking with us, let's rock with them. Let's not have this complete anti-black immigrant situation, because like I said, they not controlling nothing either coming over here. That's them folks that if you're saying they're taking something from you, them folks are doing that to cause dissension with our people. At this point in the game, we cannot divide with no one through the diaspora. We must all be on the same page because they don't like numbers anyway, right? So I just want to just put that little tidbit in there, because that sister didn't have to do that. She could have just kept her mouth shut and worry about her, ethnicity and her country.